with my second video of the For the Love of Homemade Kits recipe challenge, and I'm sorry I'm late with this again, but I have a good reason, I promise, and that is that the small dude, or should I say tall dude, has been home for the last couple of days, and so I couldn't, his gaming stuff, even with his headset, he would hear what I'm going to say, and if he knew that this photo is in existence, he would die 1,000 deaths. Now, I'm not trying to embarrass him on purpose, but it's a really sweet story. So yeah, he doesn't watch my videos, so it's okay. He's pretty good. He doesn't usually get embarrassed with much. Very quick backstory. My niece was about 3 maybe at the time, and she was going through this phase where all she wanted to do was this little Ukrainian folk dance that my mum taught her, and she would try and recruit as many people as possible because you need a whole bunch of people holding hands and going around in a circle and doing a dance. So I'm going to attach a link to a different YouTube video where it shows what it looks and sounds like, right? And there's no way that my dad would do it, and Max was resisting for the longest time, but he was staying overnight either with his grandparents or one of his aunties, and obviously my sister had managed to take a very secretive photo of Mum, Max and Lilia doing this dance. That is what I'm going to scrapbook, and he will do anything for his 2 cousins, like anything. Like if they ask him, okay, he did draw the line at wearing a dress when they did dress ups, even though it was just the 3 of them that he had to do whatever they told. So I think he draws the line at that, but other than that, he will do anything for these girls. And I can't think of too many 15-year-old boys who would do, not just play with 2 little girls who are 4 and 6 now. So that's what that's all about. And I'm also doubling up this layout for Christy from Christy's Beautiful Life is having an ABC challenge where every 2 weeks she covers 1 letter of the alphabet and gives a challenge based on something beginning with that letter. I'm jumping back to A at the moment. Alpha's was her A, letter A, and she did, I can't remember what she had. I think one of her challenges was about using thickers that were almost finished. Now, the pack that I'm using are pretty well worn, but what I'm using them for is to turn the English letters into Cyrillics. Sure, I could print a title on my silhouette with actual Cyrillics, but you know, I've got that many thickers. Why go to the trouble of pulling out the silhouette when I can just do a little bit of surgery? Not a problem. At least I hope that the fonts that I've chosen are conducive to that. If not, I'm going back to the overflowing thickers boxes because, yeah, I could do with making a dent, however small. The first thing I decided I was going to do is pull out this paper from my kit. Now, I rarely use papers with a big circular element just because it's kind of, I don't know, it's intimidating for me. So the plan is to put this somewhere like that, and then I want a box of text here where I'm going to print out on the computer the words to the song. I could handwrite it, but my Ukrainian handwriting is even worse than my English, and it's kind of lengthy, so if I do it on, say, a 3x4 piece of paper from the kit, then I think it's going to fit better here. Maybe some other different kind of embellishment, I don't know, around, and then I'll do some journaling somewhere else. I don't know where. But before I even get onto that, what I noticed about this paper, apart from the fake painty sort of stripe, down here around this flower wreath are lots of little paint splatters. I've got a selection of paint. I'm going to use the shimmers because it's quite translucent, so I think it will do well adding a few. I'm not going to go too heavy-handed over the top here, but I think this is going to work, and the colours a reasonably good match. I don't want it to be identical. So then I went through my Prima Alchemy paints, and I've got a selection that I think will match with the splatters. So I was looking mostly at the splatters and less at the flowers. So there's a bit of this orangey apricot splatter, and so I've got this one which is Phoenix Feather. Then there is a burgundy-ish looking one, and so this one's in the metallic finish, and it is Romance Pink. It doesn't look very pink, but it is what it is. There's that bluish sort of a colour which is, I guess, similar to this, but I wanted one that was, the flowers here are sort of a bluey green, but I wanted something that would definitely, for the photo I printed a little bit dark, and so Mum's outfit is not as dark as in the photo, and I thought if I try and bring it in, darken up a little bit of the blue here, and I'll see if I can use some of the paper layers and embellishments to bring in a little bit more of the grey and the sort of the turquoise, but more of the deeper colour. So I went with this one. It's one of the Opal Magic finishes. This one is blue-green. It's like those duochrome nail polishes, which I love. There is navy, which I haven't pulled because I don't really have one that's that good. But a lot of these leaves are sort of a blackish grey, and this is perfect. This Raven Black Sparks. Look at that. It's got sort of a slightly goldy finish. And while I don't really see any pink splatters, I pulled this one anyway. The pink, and it goes slightly purple, which they've got these purpley flowers, so yeah. Oh, and that one is pink blue, which is pretty obvious. I'm going to get started on that. It's going to get messy. And while that's drying, I'll probably go and print out the song word things. So I've got a toothbrush for this business, and if I do it first, it doesn't matter if it goes sort of a bit everywhere because most of this is going to be covered up. I don't mind if it goes a little bit crazy. And just a kind of a scruffy sort of a brush that's just nothing special for this because I do want a bit of the brushy texture, so I'm not going to oversaturate it with the paint. Alright, where to first, and what is our plan of action going to be? I might start by trying to put the colour to correspond to where the coordinating flower is. Yeah, the paints have all been shaken up and open, and I will start with this, the orangey one probably. What I'm doing here is moving my way through the different colours of the alchemy paints, starting with the warmer ones, the pinks and oranges, and then moving my way to the blue and then the black one, making sure I clean the brush really well between the warms and the cool ones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry, then I'll do the painting up there, and then hopefully be ready to move on to the layering and pasting and all that good stuff. It's not totally dry, at least I'm not brave enough to touch it because it's got a few blobby bits, and I really like the blobby bits, so I'm not prepared to poke them and ruin them. So I've turned it upside down. I'm going to push forward, and I used this paper from the kit and printed on the reverse side because it had that lovely turquoise, and I used a section that had some of the darker blue there, which I think is going to pull in that colour of my mum's outfit. Now you can see there's no way with my writing the size that it is that I could have written out the words to this song. There are a couple of different variations, but this is the one my mum sings. I thought it would be nice to sort of record that alongside the actual story because I want more than just the words. So anyway, I will cut that down a little bit more, but I'm glad I at least got some of that darker corner. Here it goes. I've already shaken up the shimmers, and this brush. Right, I'm just gonna be brave. Worst case scenario, I have another sheet like this. Even so, I might have a rummage in the scrap box and see what I can find in terms of grey, because it would make the title look a little bit less strange if I had something else grey. Grey would certainly work because of the sort of blackish grey leaves. Okay, I've got a bunch of different grey, black and white sort of papers. From this point on, I don't really have a plan. I think the first thing that I need to do is trim this down. I want it to probably be taller than this, but not by a whole bunch. Although once I've matted this up, it's going to be quite tall. If I put some of that turquoise behind the photo first, and then sort of start building in some of these other colours. I've got this bit, which was left over from that long strip. Ah, that's just right. I am going to ink. I've got grey here that will do. Alright, let's get sticking and cutting. I need an adhesive. Okay. I'm just going to move that to the side. Bring out the little trimmer. This is a lot easier. And where possible, I did find a scrap of that other paper. I've got this in my kit, but I found a bit here already, so why cut into that other piece if I can run with one that's already pre-cut? So I'm going through all the papers that I pulled out from the scrap box and what I had in the kit. I'm starting with that ombre paper and cutting a section of the pink part, then looking for a black and white text print to go behind it. I opt for that smaller one, which was a good move, but I can't for the life of me get these layers figured out. They just don't work. I try a bit of that orangey watercolory one from Pink Fresh Studio, trying to use the pinky section, but even that just doesn't look right. I think I'm going to cut a much taller bit of this to start, even if it's sort of a bit of a column. Yeah, because I want a bit of an L shape happening here, so I need to add some height. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up all my layers, stick them together, and then see how to cut that one. I think this might be also nice to build height with, and it is a text print. So while this is from the scrap box, it does still count, and it's got at least 3 colours, so it counts in 2 of the categories of papers that we had to pull. The colours actually are not too bad, especially if I'll avoid that green. The shade of purple is not exactly the same. Stack it up. Here I go again, pulling the layers apart, putting them back together, turning them round, trimming them down, re-inking them, rearranging them. I decide, I think at this point, that I just don't like that orange at all, so I get rid of it and start to rub off the adhesive, which is what I'm going to do right now, and then toss it into the scrap box. Good move. So I want to make that a little bit taller than this box, although actually now that I'm thinking, I would prefer to make this the taller one. Oh, I was going to, wasn't I? I was going to, yeah. I was going to do something. I was going to use this. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to cut a column and then see. Something like that. Okay. I am going to be optimistic. I'm going to ink them up. I'm just thinking that maybe I've got too much paper under here and that I should possibly ditch this pink and maybe just even these 2 mats up a bit and make those my messy mats. That's going to have to go something like that, and okay, I'm going to cut that back, and if I need to, I can always, might recycle this bit of pink here. Yeah. Alright, I will do that. But I'm going to probably have to take a bit more off the bottom there. Okay, so I'm going to go and grab the embellishments. Out of this Altenew die cut pack, I wanted to use that one especially for this, I keep forgetting about that spot, this one, Dance Like Nobody's Watching, because that's exactly what this guy was doing. This one's a maybe. A lot of the others are kind of big. I'm going to go through the Cocoa Vanilla, Unforgettable and Happiness. Okay, way more than I'm going to need. Let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to scrap the whole flower thing. I just can't get them to look the way I want them to. But if I come in with all these butterflies, I'm kind of liking that a little bit better. I'm liking butterflies on pop dots much, much better. So I might put those as I go. Okay, I have tried and I have tried and I have tried and I just can't get it to look right. I'm just going to do some little clusters here and there. I want a little bit of something up here, maybe a bit here, probably something here because there's a bit of a gap that looks a bit strange, definitely here, and maybe something up there. So I'm going to start with what I definitely wanted to include, and that was this. I could put it up on pop dots somewhere like that. I'm just conscious of my little niece is here and you can barely see her because she's already bobbed down in the bit of the song where you're supposed to bob down, so you have to make sure that she doesn't get lost. So the mix of die cuts I end up choosing are a bit of an eclectic mix, not gonna lie. So there's a couple from the Teen Girl collection and one with hearts, and I use the bottom half of it that says Besties, which is kind of applies really to my son and his two cousins. And then I pull like an orange sort of journaling spot from the Alter New die cut pack, and then I find these weird looking tassel things that I'm oddly drawn to, so I grab two of them, although I do sort of switch. There are three I think in that Cocoa Vanilla pack, and I sort of chop and change them to find the best colour combination. So the point we're at now is that I'm reasonably happy with what's in each area, and I just need to ink it up and stick it down. The bottom layers that are going to be touching all the lumpy misty bits are going to need something like glue dots because I don't think the regular adhesive will hold it. But other than that, it should be a fairly simple exercise. I have a photo on my phone that I took, so hopefully I can get things back down more or less the way they were. So here goes. My grey ink. I haven't tidied away this large pile of die cuts here just in case I want something more, and I might add some little tiny bits, whether they be flowers or hearts or whatever. So I think this side's probably the easiest one to start on. Oops, the camera stopped for a minute, I'm sorry. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to get this title. The first thing I realised is I'm not going to have enough O's. That's okay, I've got zeros. I could cheat and go into my stash and open a new packet. There's one letter which is causing me a bit of grief, and I don't seem to be able to create it very easily. You can definitely tell where the stitching sort of stops and starts with some of these, but can't be helped. Okay, I'm going to opt to just use the G as it is. It looks nothing like what I had before, but in cursive that's what a lowercase d would look like. Whereas trying to replicate an uppercase D, which is like this first letter here, you'll see it on the close-ups, it's kind of like an A with the top chopped off, a capital. Yeah, that's just not happening. Oh, we got there. Yay! I'm actually reasonably happy about the positioning. What I do need to do is find a way of adhering them. I think it's going to have to be, let's have a look how big here. The mini glue dots are going to do the job. I haven't done any other sewing, so I don't really want to start just for the sake of that. So. Okay, there's the title. I probably would have done well to have sort of made the letters a bit more wonky to start with. I sort of have a bit later, but I might see if I can wiggle a few of these up and convince them to sort of move for me. Not sure I'm going to have much success. There it is. That's the name of the song dance. It's called Podolianochka, and I will link a YouTube clip like I mentioned before in the description if you want to see what that looks like done. Journaling. My question is, where am I going to put this journaling? I didn't think I was going to have as much as I do, so I thought that it would just be a few lines here and this part of the circle would be fairly open still. Thanks, lovely neighbour. It is a great time to use your whippersnipper. I don't really have much of an alternative otherwise filling in the corners. I'm going to just have to fill in the circle, and yeah, it is what it is. Okay, well, I definitely didn't intend to fill in the entire circle, but I kind of had to, once I got to about this point, thought, I've got to make sure it goes to the end, because leaving one awkward strange line would just, yeah, that just wouldn't do it all. What else can I add? Because, you know, more is more. I'm definitely going to add some enamel hearts, which I have. It's just this little area here. I really still wouldn't mind to put something there. Maybe the sticker sheets would help. Now what if I just tuck sort of that even under that layer? I'll just ink it. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Or did I want it on top? No, I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to use these hearts from Prima, and I think the black ones would do really well here because it will just sort of bring out the black that's here. Right, here it goes. Thank you for bearing with me. I know that my videos can be a little bit chaotic, as can my layouts, so I really appreciate you stopping by and watching, and please check out the other ladies. I've put a link to the playlist. Most of the ladies who are doing a video each week do add theirs to the playlist, some don't. I mean, I've linked all their names anyway, and they may or may not have a video, so it's pretty informal and relaxed. But anyway, I will do a blog post, and I will have a lot more photos and info and bits and pieces and stuff like that there. So I would love it if you stop by, and I will see you again in a few days, or it should be less than a week because I'm a bit late on this, sorry. See you then, and I hope you come back and see what I make for layout number 3. Bye!